Merck made that happen. Our government made that happen. And you, the CDC, made that happen. Your vote killed my son. The HPV vaccine killed the most precious gift in the world. My son, my best friend. I had the joy of watching him grow for 14 years. I got to love him for 14 years. I got to be his father for 14 years. I will never stop fighting for my son. Sorry. I will never stop fighting for my son, and I will never stop telling his story. Unless you have lost a son and had to watch him lay in a hospital bed for 6 days and die, you have no clue what pain is. The day my son died is the day half my heart died. The HPV vaccine destroyed our lives. I will never forget the last look my son gave me, the last time I felt his warm hands. The last time I felt his heartbeat. That is pain. While I stand here today, I do it with a broken heart that I will forever have to live with. My family time is now spent with my son by visiting at the cemetery. Do you know what it feels like to have to walk into a room with people that you have known for years and have them stop talking because you walked in? Do you know what it feels like to be the parent of a healthy child because you chose to follow and trust the schedule that you guys made, and then he suddenly dies? Do you know what it feels like to be that same parent trying to understand why and how you don't see what is happening to our children?
Christopher
Well,
Bunch.
I do. I hope that the next time you vote on the HPV vaccine, you remember my son. You remember the story that I'm telling you about my son here today. Think of how you would feel if this happened to your brother, your sister, or your child. I'm sorry. I wanted to speak with you guys today because I have a voice and I have to be my son's voice. So I hope that you guys take this into your hearts and into your minds and remember what we said here today. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you very much for your comments.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. For those who are on their computer while a man talks about his dead son, you should be ashamed of yourselves. I'm here to talk about sudden infant death syndrome, now commonly known as undetermined, unknown, natural causes, hell, even positional asphyxiation. SIDS, and its well-developed relationship to vaccines. Now, I've read study after study about SIDS and vaccine, and what has stood out to me the most is the common denominator in all these studies is that most of them end at the hypothesis, and the investigation that the conclusion of the study demands is never completed. Why? You have known about this for decades, known that some vaccine components can trigger a lethal outcome in babies, that some vaccine components can produce a range of cytokines that cross the blood-brain barrier and suppress on an underdeveloped medulla, inducing a SIDS episode in a vulnerable adult or infant or child. In the past 8 months, I've spoken with several of the best neuropathologists in the world, one who doesn't even specialize in SIDS. He specializes in chronic traumatic encephalopathy in football players, and even he knew that some hypersensitivity to certain proteins in vaccines can cause a fatal outcome in an infant, and explained to me the simple testing that needed to be done after separating the serum from the blood post-mortem and running cytokine tests on that serum. Any medical examiner can run these tests, yet they don't.
That's right.
You know about this. They know.
That's right, they do. They do know. You got to wonder, too, with our soldiers, how many of them, maybe they don't even die right away, because I hear they get like a mega amount of vaccines all at once. You can't do that to the body without causing, like she was saying, this cytokine storm and other issues.
About this. Why don't we know about this?
That's
we,
right.
being the parents of these infants. Because on February 27, 2019, if my doctor had told me now some infants have vulnerabilities to the point that death can occur shortly after vaccines, I would have grabbed my daughter and got the hell out of there. And then the morning of March 1st, a mere 36 hours later, I went to found her cold, pale, lifeless body. Then I wouldn't be dealing with a corrupt medical examiner who refused to do any additional testing on my daughter, saying it wasn't medically necessary.
there is a collusion between doctors, especially pediatricians, and coroners and general public authority to keep this under wraps if there's any known death from vaccine. We just had a 10-year-old die in my area a few days ago from complications from the flu. He went into cardiac arrest, had sepsis, and they pointed out, yes, he did get his vaccine. When you get a vaccine for the flu, you're rendered weaker every time you get a flu after that. This is all science that they know. They're all paid well. This is our government agency, and CDC is tied in with the UN, the WHO, the World Health Organization, as the leading authority. Anytime there's an outbreak of epidemic anywhere in the world, they know all this. They know it. It's nothing but complicity in genocide.
Never even examined her brain, and when I hired second opinions who found things, she falsified documents and changed my daughter's cause of death to positional asphyxiation based on no evidence, and despite expert opinions, stating it was because of my desire to petition vaccine court.
So many parents give the same story, that when they told their doctor, my child died, or my child started having seizures, or has never been right, or any kind of damages, long-term chronic, after a vaccine, the doctor will tell them there's no association with the vaccine. How do they even say that? It's collusion.
He's a lunatic. Many parents have reached out to me with similar stories of inadequate autopsies and discriminations. If medical examiners and doctors are not investigating, how is the committee supposed to know if their recommendations are even safe?
And one point, just like sheriffs being important as who we elect, medical examiners for any city, town, state, they are extremely important. That they are ethical and competent. Where I am from in Western New York, there's been a few cases of the people in jail from allegedly causing or murdering when the medical examiner's evidence showed otherwise, as a cover-up. So that's really key. Medical examiners and your sheriffs.
Because my daughter was not collateral damage for the greater good. Her name was Evie. Evie Gale. She was 6.5 months old. She was beautiful. She looked just like a little doll from the day she was born. She had these piercing eyes that glowed, this gorgeous smile and a laugh that could end a war. She was well-developed, well-nourished, and flawless in health. She was my best friend, one of 3 loves of my life, and my heart feels it's not even there most days since my love story with her ended.
Thank you for your comment.
Her
Your time
name
has
was
expired.
Evie Gale Clovis, and she did not die from co-sleeping with her mother 36 hours after she received 6 vaccines. Your recommended schedule killed my daughter.
Thank you for your comment.
Yeah, and that concludes their little meeting that they do 3 times a year. This is CDC, saving lives, protecting people. If even one of these people here, or a few of them, said, hey, we really need to listen to some of these stories. No, they just keep, it's just an appeasement game, sham, with government and pharma behind it. And we don't have a lot of, we already have too many damaged children today. Autism, quote unquote autism, which is just a term for brain damage, through the roof. Highest infant mortality rate, and chronic disease, over 50% of our children. And there's no slowing down with the vaccines that give profit and control for our government, like in New York. So, alrighty.